This is the Rebel Call channel. Welcome to today's show. If you haven't seen this, you've got to see it because really, if you didn't see the actual articles out there, you wouldn't believe me. But it just shows you how deep these psychological operations run. And the United States Police have been given a new handbook. A new handbook. You might say, well, what's the handbook for? I mean, is it a Masonic handbook? Yeah. Well, they already got those. So what's in the handbook, you're asking, right? Is it a handbook on how to detain people? Is it a handbook on how to arrest actual criminals and keep them in prison? No. It's a handbook for the police officers to follow in regards to UFOs. That's right. Police across the U.S. have been given a new UFO handbook as they pose significant safety risks, right? Now, don't worry. You don't need to actually see the UFO in the sky. They're telling you that it's real. And this is what they're doing now. They're just convincing you that this stuff is real without you ever needing information, ever needing actual evidence. And I get it. There's a lot of people out there that fully are on board with the UFO thing. There's a lot of people out there that claim to be abducted. There's a lot of people that claim to see things in the sky. But they don't think for 1 second that their own government could be creating these unidentified flying objects, right? But the obvious answer to that is, of course they can, and of course they do. What do you think? The government only has planes that are shaped like a, Delta plane or a United plane, that's it? That they don't have things that are shaped differently, shaped oddly, that would make you see it in the sky and you go, what in the world is that? Because they never told you openly that they have aircraft that could look like that, so you're not supposed to believe. But what you're supposed to believe is what you're getting programmed into believing, right? That UFOs are real, and in fact, the police now need to be trained in this. And don't forget, the police force in the 1990s, which I have this PDF on the website where I've talked about and shown the Investigator's Guide to Satanic Ritual Abuse, Investigator's Guide to Satanic Cults. These are all things that were actually out there in the early 90s because so many crime scenes were filled with pentagrams. There were so many crime scenes where they saw literally animals sacrificed. There were altars. There were so many things that one person would see and they'd say, well, this isn't normal. Why is there an altar with a Baphomet on it? Thus, they had to start training the police so that they could identify cults in their town because cults were running rampant, and they still are. But since then, of course, we've been told, especially around the early 90s when this stuff started coming out, just as quickly as this information came out, this information was wiped off the face of the earth because they didn't want police officers to think that Satanists and Satanism was real. In fact, they did quite the opposite by creating what we know as the Satanic Panic. So don't worry about important stuff like this that's actually happening in your towns because this stuff will always be covered up. I mean, they literally had pages and pages and pages of documentation referring to holidays like the Beltane or Black Masses, which are masses that the Satanists have. It's called a Black Mass. They had references to the Witches' Sabbath. So police officers were able to identify these days on the satanic calendar, and they were able to connect the dots. And even in some cases, before crimes were actually committed, they were on the lookout. They'd say, hey, it's the Beltane. Look out for any suspicious activity with animal abductions or children abductions. They tell people in their town, keep your kids extra close today. But now, of course, that stuff's all crazy conspiracy. And what's not crazy conspiracy is that apparently the police have a handbook where they're going to be teaching and taught about significant safety risks that UFOs pose, right? Because we're seeing them all the time on the highway. They're flying all over our heads, right? I mean, absolutely unbelievable. I hope there's a chapter in there about Project Bluebeam because that would be appreciated. But let me read to you the stories this story and what it says. Police across the U.S. have published the first guide on unidentified phenomena, the new name for UFOs, unidentified anomalous phenomena, the new name for UFOs, which details such encounters and how these incidents should be reported. The report, which is 11 pages long, warns officers of the significant safety risk to law enforcement air support units the unidentified flying objects pose and urge them to be vigilant when traveling in helicopters. Officers' stories of UFO confrontations are also included, with one in 2023 where a law employee saw a triangle craft with green lights gliding through the sky before a local resident said something ran nearby. The document has been created by police executive as it's in the interest of law enforcement to be aware of trends and reporting on UAP due to the unknown threat they may pose, right? So, of course, let's train them in the unknown. This makes perfect sense, right? Oh, okay. We haven't even gotten confirmation. And of course, we know they'll give us confirmation to tell us that aliens and UFOs are real. They will not ever tell you that demons are real, of course, right? But they'll tell you that aliens are real without actually giving us evidence. And in fact, we're in such an insane time. We're now having police officers trained. What are they getting trained in? Nobody knows, right? What are you training them with the helicopter? Hey, if you see something in the sky that doesn't look like a plane, here's what you should do, right? I mean, it's unbelievable. Your tax money, folks, your tax money. The organization, which goes by the name Major Cities Chiefs Association, or MCCA for short, includes 80 executives from major U.S. cities that work together through community outreach, research and policy development, and more recently, UFO investigations. Last month, Indian aerospace engineer S. Somanath said there are definitely aliens out there in the universe. Well, I'm glad he's confirming it. Some guy that nobody's heard of. Maybe, again, let's just call him John Doe, right? Let's just call him George Glass. Oh, well, he's confirming that there's aliens out in the universe, right? And if nobody's noticed, I mean, this is how basic gaslighting works. The government is gaslighting the majority of people out there with this, there's information the government's holding back about aliens, right? We've heard Barry Soetoro, a.k.a. Barack Obama. They all come out and they're just like, well, maybe we'll release some of that stuff in the fall, and everyone out there's like, yeah, why have you been hiding it from us? As if you can actually believe these people. Now, again, I'm not saying that demons are not real. I'm not saying that there isn't something out there that we would look at as a different hybrid race potentially, right? If you want to look at it as Nephilim, you could look at it whatever you want. But this narrative of these gray things flying around in spaceships, which nobody seems to be able to catch on camera, just here and there, right? Oh, we get footage given to us from the government themselves showing us Navy pilots, right? Or Air Force pilots who see some weird thing and we're supposed to take them at their word. Is this a government that you're supposed to take at their word? I mean, this is the same government that was bribing you with gift cards to Denny's for you to go and poison yourself a few years ago and never even came out and said, hey, you know what? We probably shouldn't have taken so many people's jobs away. We probably shouldn't have shamed so many people that they made a mistake and now they're no longer here anymore, right? So we could take their word. I love how sometimes people believe some of the stuff the government has and then other things they don't, as if they're not fully 100% crooked and corrupt. As if, the government knows it's real. They just don't want us to see it. Right. Why? Because there's been a movie every month since 1950 which has been telling us that there's aliens out there, that we've just been conditioned from Independence Day, War of the Worlds. How many of those cheesy 50s movies with flying saucers have we all seen in the past, right? But there's no bigger agenda here. And of course, we know about Project Bluebeam. I've covered it many times. For those of you that don't know, how they're going to create and simulate something in the sky. And now, of course, with all these towers up all around the Earth right now, it's very easy for them to put on a light show in the sky and make you think that it's the second coming of Christ or that it's an alien invasion itself right up in the sky. They're preparing to deceive many. And sadly, you would think at this day and age, with all the crap going on, that people would be more likely not to be deceived because they'd be on their, on the edge of their feet thinking, none of these people could actually be trusted. We should all be banding together. We should all be united in this, this one understanding that these people do not have our best interests in mind, Republican or Democrat, and they haven't shown or proven that they do. All they do every single day is gaslight us to be angry at each other, right? At each other. And of course, stay loyal to the party is the most important thing that most conservatives and Democrats don't realize. Basic communism 101. The party goes above all. They just keep telling themselves, no, that's not the case. That's not the case. I'm not putting Trump above everything. I'm not. Oh, they're not? These people have Trump's face tattooed to their rectum. I mean, it's a little bit sick. So back to the story. When asked if life exists in the cosmos, Somanath, who has led the Indian Space Research Organization since 2022, said absolutely, without a doubt. I said, wow. My conscience tells me yes, of course, because you probably don't have a conscience. Although I have no proof as the chairman of ISRO, I am telling you this, right? And let's not forget, when we speak about space and aliens up there in the cosmos, if you didn't see the footage that was released where India went back into space, supposedly, it looked like literally something out of Atari. I mean, the footage was so bad and laughable. And then you read the comments, and people aren't even questioning the validity of it. They're just going, wow, this is so special. This is so cool. Because again, when you believe everything on the news is real, except of course when it comes to politics and opinions on stuff, well then your whole perception on what's going on in the world could be easily manipulated. And that's what you see going on. So Somonov isn't the only one who believes that we are not alone in the universe. An officer in Blairsville, Georgia, claims to have seen green lights in the sky when patrolling in November 2023. I'm a police officer and deputy sheriff. While on duty after dark near the top of my windshield, I witnessed movement in the sky. Wow, the officer said in their report. Upon concerting my focus, viewing through the low light, I was able to make out a triangle craft with 3 dim green lights. I'm surprised it's not 33 per side, right? Just like everyone's been programmed to believe, right? 3 lights, usually that's a flying object in a lot of these films. He then said he lost sight of the craft as it went behind the trees, and because he was inside his vehicle, he couldn't hear anything. He said, I am privy to what helicopters and airplanes look like in the sky, frequently working alongside medical flight crews in the area, and where nearby airports are, making me somewhat familiar with common areas of the sky in which low air travel is common. This was unlike anything I had ever witnessed. The officer then responded to a call from a resident who had heard something running outside of his home, which did not sound like an animal in the same direction the unidentified object was traveling in. The new UAP guide will be very handy for law enforcement officers. Author of Captured by Aliens, a history of analysis of American abduction claims. A man by the name of Nigel Watson says, the short history of the study of UAPs and the links to organizations where sightings can be reported is very helpful. For me, the references to the ex-government whistleblowers, David Grush and Luis Elzonado, is super files, and they have only repeated rumors that have circulated for years without any substantial evidence. And again, I love how we get these guys they call whistleblowers, and we're supposed to believe they're real credible. Ooh, they're blowing the roof off of it, right? I mean, when you think about a story like this, it really comes down to you don't know any of these people who we're getting quotes from, none of them, right? But we're taking their word for it because we're told they're experts. Just like we were supposed to take the word of the medical science field a couple years ago because we're told we don't know anything about anything. And how dare we even ask a simple question? Just do as you're told. It's the same with this stuff. And if people's perception of the news changed, if they got past the whole fake news, as in fake news is CNN because CNN hates Trump and they make up stories about Trump and they lie about Trump, that's all they think of. They never think for a second that the whole thing is literally done and scripted. The majority of these stories done in front of green screens. And what that does to your mind. Think about what it does to your mind. If you're looking at this stuff, it's like going to a movie, okay? It's like going and seeing a movie in the theater and watching that movie as if it's actually real and coming out of the movie and going, I can't believe so-and-so died. I can't believe that so-and-so broke up during it. And then going home and living your life as if what you just saw was real, as if those are your friends in the movie. And frighteningly enough, there are people who do live in that reality. I mean, you could go look at some things people tweet. They talk about these movies as if it's real. Like, I can't believe they changed so-and-so's costume. Why is Wolverine dressed like... I mean, it's psychotic. I mean, it shows you how deep the hypnosis goes. But that's what it's equivalent to. Automatic trust in the news, right? So automatic trust in the news without going, And especially when it comes to the UFO stuff. Why? Because people out there believe that the government is corrupt. So they're saying to themselves, they've been hiding something from us. And they don't even realize they've been conditioned all this time into believing UFOs are real through seeing a movie almost every single month, a new movie come out about aliens, about UFOs over and over and over. And then they're tickling them. They're going, listen, look, we're hiding. Oh my gosh, the government's hiding something. You're like, I knew it. I knew they were hiding something. We're going to find out. As if they can't be manipulated. They're being manipulated. The government does nothing more than manipulate people's perceptions. And this entire thing is going to lead to massive, massive deception. So don't worry about your police force investigating covens in your town. Don't worry about them investigating the Freemasonic or Eastern Star Lodges, since, of course, we all know the Fraternal Order of Police is a Freemasonic organization. So we already know that that's fully compromised. And certainly don't worry about them looking into abductions, animal abductions, or anything like that in association with satanic cults, because they want you to think that that's conveniently fake. That every time a story came out in the past about Satanists, that the people were just making it up. Duh. People were just making it up. They had nothing better to do. They were trying to make money, right? The parents were trying to make money. They were trying to cause hysteria. And that's the end of it. And they sweep it under the rug. Now you don't hear anything. Do you ever hear a story anymore about satanic ritual taking place in America? Some other countries I've covered in the past, there have been stories of murder, and then they go to the person's home and they find an altar and they find a pentagram on the floor, but they just kind of brush over it. They're like, oh yeah, they went into some weird stuff, instead of saying, wait a minute, this was straight up a satanic ritual sacrifice, and this is what these people believe, and this is what their teachings tell them to do, to summon and bring forth entities, right? But they don't want you to believe that. They want you to think that that's all crazy nut job stuff, because they don't want you to believe the actual truth, which is why they continue to gatekeep the truth and create this simulated reality around us. And now we have police forces being trained. Don't even ask. I mean, what could possibly be in this book, right? That they're getting a book. Like what? You see something in the sky that doesn't look like a plane? I mean, okay. Do you need a book for that to tell you that it could be, something weird? I mean, it should say flat out, hey, there's a government unidentified object in the sky that they're flying around. Right? And all this does is give more credibility to this notion that they're going to come forward with, which is going to be a massive alien deception. It's very clear that we're headed towards that. And Christians, conservatives, and Democrats, this is one of those things that they're all going to be on board with. Remember, Ronald Reagan famously said it would take an alien invasion to bring about a new world order, to bring about world peace. And this new world order comes in the name of world peace. People put their differences aside and everybody goes, hey, we have one thing in common. We're all humans, right? We're all humans. It's coming. You could bet your bottom dollar it's coming. I don't know when it's coming, but they're ramping up their propaganda around it. And if you actually look around at people that we're living among, they are so easily deceived, they will fall for it hook, line, and sinker. I mean, we have people out there that still don't even know what geoengineering is. I was just talking to somebody about chemtrails, just basic, somebody I didn't even know. I just threw it at them. They're like, what? I'm like, well, did you notice all the streaks in the sky? I'm like, what? No. Well, look up. What? Isn't that just water vapor? Or isn't that just, engine from the plane? And then you just go, right, do you understand anything that's going on? Are you paying attention to anything? And the answer is no, they're not. And when you're not paying attention to anything, and you continue to believe what's getting fed to you, which is nothing more than lies, then your whole perception of what's going on in the world is nothing more than a deception. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.